right, folks, today is a cloudy, somewhat humid, but not too hot, June 16th, 2022. We're in for a fast-paced afternoon. We're here at Princeton Junction, New Jersey, on New Jersey Transit and Northeast Corridor line between New York and Washington. And as of May 31st, the Acela Express speed limit has been raised to 150 miles per hour. This is in effect from County Interlocking south of New Brunswick, New Jersey, to milepost 54, a couple of miles north of Trenton. So we're going to catch the lightning bolts here. I'm not talking about thunderstorms, even though there might be thunderstorms here today. Since my last visit here in April, they have opened up all 4 tracks. Track 4 on the extreme left had been cordoned off and had a temporary platform over it. Here comes 2160, Washington to Boston at 12:03. And approaching at 12:28 is Amtrak 125, regional en route from New York to Newport News, Virginia. A lot of trains go through here to and from Virginia points. I'll tell you, one of the nice things about coming to Princeton Junction nowadays is you don't have to schlep all the way to Wickford Junction, Rhode Island, or Mansfield, Massachusetts to see 150-mile-an-hour Acelas. It's just a short train ride from New York now. And approaching at 12:42 is Amtrak 648, Harrisburg to New York. Cab car forward, former Metroliner car. Got a little delayed horn show there. I'm trying to encourage horn shows from these people. Okay, at 12:46, approaching now is Amtrak 174, en route from Newport News, Virginia to Boston. Oh, here comes Amtrak 645, New York to Harrisburg at 12:47. Cab car first. Atta baby. Those cab cars have K5LA horns, but the ACS 64s have K5LAs with a raised letter. Time is 1:02. Got something coming Trenton bound on track number 2. Curiosity. This looks like an Amtrak maintenance of way train. There's a gap in Amtrak trains right now so they can use this track. Correction, that 579 locomotive with Amtrak is a GP15D. It's fitted with a Caterpillar engine, rated at 1,500 horsepower. And might as well get some New Jersey Transit heritage and military units. It's an ALP 46A. And approaching at 142 is Amtrak 609 from New York to Harrisburg, Keystone service. He's running on track 4. I'm hoping to see the Portland Rose engineer. He's a Washington-based engineer. I think he makes a round trip from Washington to New York. I know he's running an Acela Express back to Washington later today. Hopefully I'll catch him in both directions. I call him Portland Rose because he was born in Portland, Oregon. And that's an old secondary Union Pacific passenger train. Okay, approaching at 148 is train 84. En route from Norfolk, Virginia to New York. I think that was him. We'll be seeing him later. 149, here comes 2159, the Acela, Boston to Washington. He'll be burning up the rails here. Well, approaching now at 159 is 2164, Acela, Washington to Boston. You know, there's a condition called attention deficit disorder. I suffer from horn surplus disorder. Highly contagious if you allow it to be. Well, 228, here comes an unscheduled train on track 1. Might be that Amtrak work train again. Tailing was our GP15D, picked up a couple of buddies along the way. Well, approaching Princeton Junction at 2:30, and he's almost an hour late. Is Amtrak 171 from Boston to Roanoke, Virginia. He's a real pokey. I mean, he stops at New Brunswick, Princeton Junction, Aberdeen, Maryland, all the places that are atypical for Amtrak trains stopping on the Northeast Corridor. May have had some engine trouble. He's got 2 engines on the point. This train delayed a transit train bound for Trenton. Should be coming soon after. Had to identify those locomotives on that train, the Amtrak locomotives. 526 was a GP38H-3. That was a former GO Transit in Toronto, GP40TC. Those things have gone through quite a metamorphosis. Here comes 176, Roanoke, Boston. Caught me by surprise. The 724 is a GP38-3. Quite a collection of locomotives there. Okay, 237, we have a couple of high-speed Amtraks coming. This is 650, en route from Harrisburg to New York. Cab car first. Followed by Acela Express 2121, New York to Washington. Well, here comes train 2121, the Acela from New York to DC. It's a long straightaway here, and when they first appear, they're miles away, but it doesn't take them long to get here. Not at 150 mile an hour, it doesn't. Impressive. You know, they can go 15 mile an hour faster through here than before, but the schedules are timed for the old 135 mile an hour speed limit. So I would imagine they can run a little early between New York and Philadelphia. As the Dinky heads into the storage area, approaching now is Amtrak 93 from Boston to Norfolk at 2:53. Between 2 and 3 o'clock, you have a bevy of Amtraks coming out of New York. Here comes Amtrak 647, New York, Harrisburg, 2:56. Great horn salute there. And next up at 3:05 p.m. is Amtrak 19, the Crescent, en route from New York to New Orleans, Louisiana. Formerly called the Southern Crescent, formerly the Southerner. He'll get into New Orleans tomorrow evening. Now you notice this catenary pole. These are like original Pennsylvania Railroad built catenary poles, which have been up for almost 90 years, if you can believe that. And they still look modern. Some of these big poles are holding on to the wires, but additional lower profile catenary poles have been erected to hold the wires, providing additional tension on the wires to allow the higher speeds for the Acela Express trains now. Here's an example of one of the newer catenary poles holding on to the wires. The one behind it, the more traditional catenary pole, is no longer holding the wires. At 3:27, we have this transit train stopped here heading for New York on 1. Got a transit train arriving on 4. And way in the back you can see, I can tell already, as a cab car leading, is Amtrak 649. That's the tortoise of the Keystone trains from New York to Harrisburg. It takes almost 4 hours. So it stops at Newark Airport, Cornwalls Heights, nothing ever stops there, North Philadelphia, Another one, very atypical, Philadelphia, and then every stop to Harrisburg. It's amazing it doesn't stop here. Well, you can tell I'm biased towards Amtrak and not New Jersey Transit. Although I love listening to the horns on these Arrow MUs. I love those Westinghouse AA2 horns on those Arrow MUs. Aside from that, you can tell I'm definitely biased towards Amtrak here today. Well, it's 3:30 p.m. Thus far, I've spent time on the New York-bound platform. For the remainder of my visit, we'll stay on the Trenton-bound, Philadelphia-bound platform. Sick horn. Sounds like Barney Fife trying to sing. 3:50 p.m. Coming fast on number 3 is 2163, Acela Express, Boston to Washington. Gave me a nice breeze on this humid day. That caught me by surprise at 3:55. That was 93. Boston to Richmond, Virginia. 184, Washington, Boston, 3:57. Princeton Junction, you can't beat this place. What am I, falling asleep or what? It's 4 o'clock, that was 2166. Washington to Boston. 2168, pardon me. I know I'm getting tired. And what I identified as 93 was 85. I'm losing it. All these high-speed trains are making me dizzy. That's more like it. Okay, approaching at 4:27 is train 173 en route from Boston to Washington. That used to be the old Senator from Boston to Washington, joint New Haven, Pennsylvania Railroad operation. Great. That was train 42, the Pennsylvanian from Pittsburgh to New York. Here comes 94, Norfolk to Boston, 4:37. Here's 651, New York Harrisburg, 4:43. Getting some great horn shows now. Thank you, Arrow MUs, Princeton Shuttle. I appreciate that accompaniment. Well, that horn accompaniment in the background, it sounded like a sick pelican. Okay, time for another lightning bolt show. It's 5:03. Here comes 2170, Acela Express from Washington to Boston. profoundly before. Approaching at 5:08. Gotta get these classics. Sound that AA2 horn. There you go. One of the few GE built rail vehicles that I really appreciate nowadays. I'll take these hands down over a Silverliner 4, blindfolded, eating liver and onions on top of it. Oh, here comes an Amtrak clunker, train 129, New York to DC. He stops here and he stops at Aberdeen, Maryland. Here comes train 148, Washington to Springfield, Mass. at 5:34. Okay, approaching now at 5:34 is train 2167, the Acela Express from Boston to Washington. He runs non-stop from New York to Philadelphia. Piloting the train will be the Portland Rose. He went up on 174, but I don't think he saw me or knew I was there. But he knows I'm here now. "66 minutes, New York to Philly." He knew I was there. I gotta get this. This is one of New Jersey Transit's many military painted units. The flashy all blue one is running on a different line today. Looking towards New York, I can actually see 3 trains coming. 2 trains on track 4 and 653 from Amtrak from New York to Harrisburg on track 3. We should rapidly catch up to this local. I think this guy's going to skunk 653. If you look closely, you should see the pantograph on the ACS 64. I might get him, but it's going to be close. 552. Well, here's stop train 3949. This is one of those expresses that go like Newark to Princeton Junction nonstop. Approaching now is Amtrak 652 from Harrisburg to New York. He stops here. Here comes, looks like a deadhead move on 3, New Jersey Transit. Get him flying by. Now this train is a bit infamous to one person in particular. This is Amtrak 652, as I had mentioned. Stops here, New Brunswick, Metro Park, goes on into New York. 2 years ago, a friend of mine who's a rail fan was rail fanning here. And, you know, he had a ticket for this train. He wore a mask. It was at the height of the pandemic. And he tried to get on the train and they wouldn't let him on. They denied him boarding for some reason. Did they think he was a terrorist? Was it a delusional super COVID paranoid conductor? But they would not let him on. He was pissed. He ultimately complained to Amtrak, but he did get his money back. Weird story. One of those former Metroliner cars that are now cab cars. They're used quite a bit on the Keystone trains. In fact, all of them use the cab cars. Although sometimes they run an engine on each end. If the cab car is malfunctioning or whatever it is, or they're short. Kind of a puny bell. We got 2170 of the Acela, Washington to Boston. He's gaining on this guy. That was impressive. I know that said rail fan was probably delighted that that train got trounced by that Acela. Love those horns. Okay, approaching now at 6:07. There's another train that's sort of a local. 193, New York to Washington. He actually, in addition to his regular city stops, he stops at Newark, Delaware, and Aberdeen, Maryland. Boy, Aberdeen has some really good service. On this train, you can ride from Newark to Newark. That's how it's pronounced in Delaware. It's spelled like Newark, New Jersey, but it's pronounced Newark. Some really great horn shows here today. Okay, 6:35, approaching is 178. Washington to Boston. This will be the last regional that I see here. It's the longest regional I've seen all day today. Okay, 6:38 p.m. The last Amtrak train I'll see here at Princeton Junction will be Acela Express 2169 from Boston to Washington. It's been a great afternoon here with high-speed action, super high-speed action, and some terrific horn shows. Princeton Junction, the place to be if you like to see the trains fly. Get one more 150-mile-an-hour run by. Great way to end it. I'm waiting for my Babylon train to Jamaica. Got a few minutes. Coming down the hill is New York and Atlantic train RS-80. 9:39 p.m. This is about the time he shows up. Got a couple of GP38s on him. Just like Monday night or Tuesday night, 49 graffiti-laden cars. Good-sized train.